Okay, so I have a couple of chairs down in the basement that I want to refinish for kitchen island. And, ooh, just as a refresher, this is the basement. Still have lots to do down here. And this is possibly the scariest room in our basement. But here are the two chairs. Has some spiders nesting down there. I'm gonna take these out, clean them up, and start stripping the chairs. Stripping the chairs. Ooh, these are nasty. So these chairs went with a bistro height table that I used to have, and I have since basically torn that table apart. I've used the legs for my sewing table because they're a little bit taller. The top, I think I put with some other legs and gave it to Goodwill. Anyway, so I got this set many, many years ago, probably over a decade ago now, when we first moved into our apartment in Reno, Nevada. And they came as like a stained wood, and I eventually painted them in millennial gray chalk paint because that was like what was trending at the time. And then I covered the seats in this fabric that I actually designed. And I really like this fabric, but I just don't think it's appropriate anymore for the style of the kitchen that we have or the style of a lot of things in our house. I also want to strip these down, get all this paint off of here, and I think I'm going to stain them again. I kind of want to get them stripped and see how I feel about them and then decide whether I'm going to stain or paint them. But I'm leaning towards stain. But the first thing I need to do is take the seat cushions off of here and clean these up a little bit because they are very dirty. They have a lot of little bugs and spider webs on them, and yeah, they just need a glow up. They need a little glow up. Gross. OMG, there are live spiders. Holy moly, that's gross. Oh, I'm so nervous to touch these. Yuckers. So I'm gonna try out this product called Clean Strip. I just got this at the Home Depot. They do have a more, I guess, eco-friendly version of paint stripper called Citrus Strip. And I was just kind of doing a little bit of research, and the Citrus Strip I think works, but people say that this stuff and other products work better. And I don't want to play around with these chairs. I just want to get them stripped. Although this says Clean Strip Green, it says 0 VOC, no hazardous air pollutants or petroleum distillates. So I don't know, we'll see how well this works, but this is my first time using this product. I have some gloves here. I got some heavy duty gloves that say they are for stripping and refinishing, so hopefully those will work out well. I've got a little plastic container here. I've got a little chip brush for spreading the stripper on the chairs. And yeah, I think that's about it. And then this room out here, I'm actually gonna open up some of these two doors, but this room is basically outside. It's not like an air conditioned space or anything. We might be getting some rain later, otherwise I would just do this outside. But yeah, I wanna stay in here just in case it starts raining. Very humid today. I don't notice any smell on this at all, so it doesn't seem to be very strong smelling, which is good. So I think it actually works better to start from the bottom and work your way up because the stuff gets really drippy. So I'm gonna actually start from the bottom on this side. And it is thick, but it's just kind of, it's still a little bit watery, so it doesn't really like cling as much as I thought it would. I'm gonna try it without wrapping it in plastic wrap, but I have heard that wrapping these in plastic wrap is actually a good way to kind of accelerate the process and make sure that all the stripper stays on there. All right, so I've got the coat on there. It's kind of sliding off a little bit. Oh, it's so humid, by the way. My hair's getting really fluffy. I'm gonna try it without the plastic wrap first and check it in about 30 minutes and see how it does, because I may not need to do that. If it's still not penetrating after 30 minutes, I'll do another coat and put some plastic wrap on it. I don't have much of that stuff left, so if this doesn't work, then I may have to go get some more. But we're gonna see how it goes. And I'm just gonna follow the manufacturer's instructions for this stuff. So they didn't say anything about wrapping it, so I'm not gonna do that. And we're gonna see. We're just gonna see. Kind of can't help myself, I'm just curious. It's only been a few minutes. Ooh, okay, this actually might work. It's kind of scraping up a little bit. Yeah, okay, all right, I'm gonna leave it alone. I'll leave it alone. It's been about 30 minutes. I'm gonna do a little test scrape here, see how we feel. Worked pretty good. I mean, it's not like sliding off in a super satisfying way, but it is coming off pretty easily. So maybe I should just go for it. It is coming off a little bit more satisfyingly in areas where it can kind of sit a little bit, like on the horizontal surfaces. I decided to do another coat and this time wrap it in plastic wrap to see if it would help the stripper penetrate a little bit better, because it was somewhat easy to scrape off, but it did take a little bit of effort, and there were some areas where it was already drying, and in those areas I couldn't get the paint off. Also, the instructions on the bottle say that you can leave this stuff on for up to 24 hours, and I honestly don't even know how that's possible because it dries so quickly, and once it dries it's impossible to scrape it off. Okay, I got these all recoated and wrapped in plastic wrap. I'm gonna let these sit for, I'm probably gonna let them sit for a couple hours actually, and I'll come back and check them. All right, so these have been sitting here for a couple hours and I've left the plastic on there, but I mean, it's still kind of dried out even with the plastic on it. I'm feeling a little bit defeated, and it's just really hot today. It's like we're getting a storm starting to brew too. It's humid. So I think I'm gonna leave this for overnight. I'm gonna come back in the morning. If it's still not scraping off easily, and you can see a couple spots where I started to kind of scrape it off and it's just not really coming off super easy. I feel like it's coming off less easy than it was earlier when I just left it for 30 minutes. So if it's still not doing its thing by tomorrow morning, I'm gonna take all the plastic wrap off. I'm gonna put another coat on here, let it sit for 30 minutes, and then I'll strip it, or try to anyway. And then whatever's left over, I can probably just sand off. Oh yeah, this is like fully dry. Nothing. Nada. Okay. All right, round 3. So I was realizing, I think this stuff actually might be a more eco-friendly / less intense version of stripper, because I was expecting this stuff to just fall off of the chairs and it didn't. It also says that you can leave it on for 24 hours. I just don't see how that's possible, because I feel like after 30 minutes, this stuff was doing about as good as it was gonna do. And I think if you leave it on for any longer than 30 minutes, it's just gonna dry. And even with the saran wrap on it, it dried. So it was pretty hot yesterday, so that could be part of the reason it dried so fast, even with the saran wrap, or maybe I just didn't wrap it tight enough. But I don't really think leaving this on longer is the best bet. So if this doesn't work, I'm going for the hardcore stuff. All right, so it's been a little over 30 minutes. It's coming off, but I don't know, it's gonna be way harder than I thought to get all this off. So I think I might go back and just get some of the heavier duty stuff, because I have this little plastic scraper and I like this because it doesn't gouge the wood. I mean, the metal scraper does a little bit more effective job of scraping, but it also can kind of gouge the wood. So don't know if I like that. And it's just not coming off super, super easy. So I think I'm gonna go nuclear on this thing. All right, I went back to Home Depot and I got some different stripper. I actually got 2 types of the same stripper. So I got one that's a spray. It's the same brand, Clean Strip, but I think this is a more heavy duty stripper. So I'm gonna try this first. I was gonna go outside and try this, but it is a little breezy today, and since this is a spray, I just didn't want the spray to get out of control. I feel like I can kind of control it in here a little bit better. So I'm gonna try it and see how I like it. If I like it, I'm gonna move forward with this and return the other one that I bought. If I don't like it, then I'll use the other one that I bought. So the other one is also Clean Strip Premium Stripper, but it's just in a can, so I'd have to brush it on. I think this might be the stuff that should make the paint just kind of fall off, hopefully, fingers crossed. So we're gonna try that. Definitely smells strong. I'm already starting to run out of this stuff. I'm almost done with this chair. I'll be able to get it. I think I can do it. I think I can do it. So, ooh, yeah, it's coming off, that's for sure. Oh yeah, just have to do this chair, I think. All right, it says to wait 15 minutes, but I'm just kind of curious to see what it's done in just like the few minutes. Oh, heck yeah. This is the ticket here, look at that. Just slides right off. That is the experience that I wanted. Okay, I'm gonna let this sit for the full 15 minutes and then I will start taking off this paint. Okay, so long story, even longer. That stripper worked a lot better, but it was still drying in places and was making it harder to get some of the paint off. So I decided to go in with the paint on stripper and work on one chair at a time, and also just keep it nearby so that I could do it in sections, basically. If I do this again, which I probably will, I have some other projects in mind. If I do this again, I'm just gonna use the paint on stripper. That stuff seemed to be the best bet. It was a little bit thicker, so it stayed on longer and it could penetrate a little bit better, and that was a much more satisfying experience. Also, I did not expect this part to take up half of this video. All right, so now I am going to clean these up a little bit with some, well, this isn't mineral spirits. This is like a mineral spirit substitute because a little hardware store in the town closest to us didn't have mineral spirits. They said they stopped selling them, but hopefully this will do the same thing. I'm just gonna kind of clean up some of the gunk and goop that's left from stripping these. And I've just got a little Scotch-Brite pad here. And I think you can do this with a cloth too. I've actually never used this stuff. So I'm just gonna dampen this and start scrubbing. It works pretty good. I'll try to wipe this off with a paper towel. It's just got a lot of little like bits of the old paint left on here, like kind of crumbly bits. So I got this thing mostly sanded. I do have some little smaller areas like in between here, and then even this like curved surface on both the front and the back. Those are a little bit harder to get to with this sander that I have. This thing's just too big. So I need to kind of think about how I'm gonna get into those areas. I have a multi-tool that came with some little sanding like triangle things that I think would actually work really well for this. I have no idea where they are. And I looked at Home Depot when I was there a couple days ago to see if they had any replacements for those for the Ryobis. They don't have them at the store. You have to get them online, which is really annoying because I'm kind of in a time crunch here. But this did most of the work. I mean, I was able to get, you know, pretty close to some of the edges here. So this took a while. This took a little while to do this. I've been working on it for probably about an hour and a half, just sanding this one chair. So I'm gonna start working on the other one, and then hopefully I can start staining this later today. I'm starting with a 60 grit sandpaper, and then I'm actually going to go back over this with a, I think I have like a 180 or a 120 just to make it a little bit more smooth, but that 60 really did take down the rest of the finish that was left on here after doing all of the stripping. I found the attachments for the Ryobi. I'm so happy. It was one of those things where I put it somewhere really safe and secure that I was sure I would remember, and I didn't remember. Anyway, I found them. Now I should be able to get into the little corners and crevices. We'll see how it goes. Still a little tricky, but I think it'll at least help. Yeah, that works. Cool. So that detail sander did a pretty good job in some areas, but it still wasn't able to reach in some other areas. So I'm just gonna go in with some sandpaper wrapped around my sanding block. Get in there. The sanding block is pretty much bald. That's why I'm not using the sanding block. Oh, that works. That's getting the job done. I also used a wire brush to get into some of the little nooks and crannies and get some of that out. So I'm just going to wipe these down with the tack cloth, get all of the extra dust off if there's any left. Then I can start staining this. But before I stain it, I want to condition the wood. That'll help the stain be less splotchy. My sanding job is not perfect. There's still a few little spots where I just couldn't get the stain or the finish off. Most of the paint came off, so that's good, but the stain kind of stuck from the original stain job on these chairs. But that's okay, because the stain that I'm going to use is pretty dark. Kind of sanded a little too much right here. Hopefully that won't show too much once I get it stained. All right, now I'm ready to stain these. It's been about 30 minutes since I put the conditioner on the wood, and I had to move into the sunroom because Alan is about to start mowing the lawn. So I have decided to go with a black stain, and I'm using the color Classic Black from Refinishing. This is an oil-based stain. I'm hoping I only have to do one coat of this. I feel like one coat should probably do it. I just wanted to still be able to see the wood grain, but also have a little bit of contrast between the chairs and the kitchen island that I just built. So we're going with black. Ooh, that's black. I worked in kind of small sections, applying the stain with a rag, and then I would come back in with a dry rag and wipe away the excess stain. So I let the stain dry overnight, and I'm ready to polyurethane this. I'm going to also be using a Refinishing polyurethane, and I did use an oil-based stain, and I'm using a water-based polyurethane. This is the same thing I did for the kitchen island. The reason I'm doing that is because I already had the oil-based stuff to do the oil-based stain, but oil-based polyurethane has a tendency to yellow, is what I've read anyway. And so the water-based stain is a little bit more stable from yellowing, but you just want to make sure that your stain is completely dry. So this has been sitting outside in the sunroom for the last 24 hours, which is what is recommended on the polyurethane or the stain, one of those. So I'm just gonna follow the instructions on the can. I'm gonna do 3 coats of polyurethane. I'm gonna sand lightly in between coats, and then the chairs will be done minus the cushions. Shuffle All Out 90s playlist on Spotify.
Shuffling All Out 90s from Spotify.
And I know that he cannot approach me. So while I wait for that first coat of polyurethane to dry, I'm going to work on recovering these cushions. So they have been covered like twice. They have a couple of layers of fabric on them. And instead of just going right back over what I've already put on here, I'm gonna remove all the staples and start from scratch, start fresh. For the fabric that I'm recovering these with, I have a couple of options. So these are actually some pillow covers that I bought. So I got these on Amazon. I just really love the block print. of this fabric. I love the blue, and I think the blue would actually look really good in the kitchen with the blue cabinets. I also really like these. I got these at IKEA, and it's just kind of a textured woven black and white fabric that is just really cool. So I think I'm gonna go with this one, the textured one. So it'll kind of tie into the black, and it'll be sort of a neutral pattern that I think will work well in the kitchen. I actually don't know where my needle nose pliers are, so I'm gonna be using a flathead screwdriver and some different pliers to pry these out. I'm just gonna kind of loosen them a little bit. Ooh, it's gonna be a job. Oh, I bet my little nippers would work. Hang on. I found them. Yay! I love these little things. They're just like little nail nippers. They've got like a little, whatever this is called. They make prying things out, like nails and staples, so much easier because you can just get some leverage on it. Oh, so much better. This is one of my most used tools. Oops. The only thing you gotta be careful of is that sometimes they can kind of like cut the thing that you're trying to pull out. So that's kind of annoying, but I can probably get it. Yeah. Man, they make that so much easier. First layer off. Ooh man, that is dirty. This is the other fabric that I covered these with. I kind of forgot about that. Look how dingy it is. These were well loved at one point. All right, round two, taking staples out. Okay, so this is a pillow cover. I'm just gonna cut the back off of it, and it's just big enough to cover these seats. I think these are 20-inch pillow covers. And anyway, I'm just gonna trim the back off and then start stapling this to the seat. I wanna start at the center on each edge, pull it really nice and tight, get those first few staples in, and then I can kind of work my way around the cushion, making sure I get it really nice and taut all the way around while stapling it. It just got very stormy outside, so it's very dark in here. Looks like it's nighttime, but it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So now I just gotta attach these to the chairs and they'll be done. It's really coming down out there. Well, the sun decided to come back out. So anyway, the chairs are done. I am really pleased with how these turned out, and those little IKEA pillow covers worked perfectly to cover the seats of these things. I bought those pillow covers a few months ago. It was kind of an impulse purchase. I just really liked the fabric of the pillow covers. I've just been kind of hanging on to them. So now we have a place to sit at the bar. Anyway, I want to thank you so much for watching. I want to give a shout out to my Patreon members. You guys are amazing. If you would like to become a Patreon member, I'll put a link to that down in the description, and I will see you all in the next video. Okay, bye.